Shoutouts for this video go to Rick the Rock, Pate, Love Minis, Horlicks, Peninsula Painting Projects and World of Mike Anderson. Thank you for leaving a comment.
Mind the gap.
So, welcome to this issue 3, and while I open the parts up, I'll just go through the ratings. Now the overall feel, we gave it a 9, perhaps a little bit harsh because we've been giving 10s, but I was happy with a 9. Now the build time, the raw footage for this was just a touch over 25 minutes, so I've rounded that up to 27 because we give 1 point for every 3 minutes of build. That gives a rating of 9. Now the instructions, as per the first 2 issues, were slightly overcomplicated, but they did explain everything in detail. In actual fact, this issue there aren't too many instructions because what we have to do is quite simple, but there are no problems with the issue with the instructions. Now there were 7 parts in total. In fact, actual fact, there was 9, so I can't count, 8, 9, 11. However, some of the parts came in duplicate, so we only can't count those 1 points. The parts were hull plating, cockpit door panel, control yokes, throttle levers, pilot seats and passenger seats. So that gives a total of 7 points, and I found no problems with the builds. Other than there was one part that I'm not sure about, but what I class as problems are things that stop you from doing the build, so therefore there was 0 points for problems. So this particular issue, unfortunately, is, technically speaking, is the worst issue so far of 3 at 90%, and that brings the overall average down to 92.67, which I am still classed as ecstatic with. So I'll just watch the rest of the unpacking, and we'll just look through the magazine. Okay, so we begin by taking the bulkhead from issue 1, that's part 2, and if we haven't already fitted the instrument panel sticker, which we have, then we need to do that now. So then on to part 2, section 2, sorry, the second instruction tells us to take the cockpit door and sticker panel, which is parts 2 and 3, and then fit them into the door. And what I've actually done is I've just done a little dry fit, and I've noticed that it's slightly, ever so slightly too big, so it actually creates a slight buckle in the middle, or one end, depends on where you push that buckle. So what I've done is I've trimmed a tiny bit off the bottom. Now however much you think it needs trimming, trim a little bit less. You can always take more off, but you can't add any back. So what I've done is I've I mean, as it happens, the amount I've trimmed off was spot on first time, but yeah, what we do is we trim a little bit off, dry fit it again. Once we're happy that it all fits, we then take the backing off, we then pop that into the door, and then starting at the bottom, well, I think I started at the bottom, we stick that bottom bit in, and then we gently smooth it up so that we've just reduced any air bubbles. Okay, so once we've got that in, we then just fit that into the bulkhead and we just push it down until it's flush. You'll see there's a little bit of a recess in the bulkhead. The door will fit very nicely into there, and it is shaped. The corners are kind of cut at the top, so it is impossible to pop it in the wrong way round. Okay, so the next section is fitting the cockpit seats and levers, and to begin with we need to prepare the 4 seats, that's 2 pilot seats and 2 passenger seats, and the cockpit base that we've temporarily assembled in issue 1. Okay, so if we hold the cockpit base so that the smaller end is towards us, we now just need to push in the 2 passenger seats, and they go in the rear, and they go in quite easily. As you can see, they do go in quite firmly. Okay, so they're not actually glued in, and that was a concern of mine. However, I have managed to do a little bit of research on the internet, and they will actually be attached more firmly at a later date. So once we've done that, we just repeat the process with the pilot seats, and they go into the 2 front. There's a little square peg, and we just pop them in. I found that the pilot seats weren't quite so secure as the passenger seats, but nevertheless they were actually secure, and I was very happy with that. Okay, so the next stage is to prepare the 4 metal components. That's 2 metal control yokes and the 2 levers. Now the 2 levers went in okay, but there's nothing holding them in, and they were quite stiff, which kind of worried me. But again, I've done some research. I think these will be fitted in more strongly in the future. When you finish this part, I would recommend storing it inside, say for example, a Ziploc bag. The reason being is if this gets knocked, the pieces will fall out, and they're very small and you could lose them quite easily. Now the next stage, I actually stepped forward and went to the instrument assemblies, and then using the two tabs I actually popped on the cockpit base onto the bulkhead. I just felt this would add a little bit more stability, and also we would run the risk of losing those control yokes. So I just felt I'd just skip a bit forward, and then I would go back to fit the I've forgotten what they're called now. The control yokes, of course. So once I've then stepped back, I've done the control yokes, and then I'll go back again, forwards again, and then I'll fit the control column console with the instrument panel. Okay, and the last part that we received is the hull plating, TP2. Unfortunately, we're not doing anything with that this week, so all we need to do is just keep it safe. Okay, so next we're going to have a little look ahead at issue 4, and in this issue we're going to receive more frame members, the fixings, and the front of the cockpit console. Looks an interesting build. Doesn't look massive amounts of parts, but I'm quite looking forward to that mounting. Okay guys, so that's it for this week, I'm afraid, and I will see you next week with issue 4.
So Rick the Rock Pate writes, cool, thank you for that. Love Minis writes, great idea using paperclip pins to line up the sticker with the holes, good going. Well, the thing is, obviously we've only got 2 hands, and on each of those hands we have 4 fingers and a thumb, and you know, sometimes that's not enough. We could go out and buy lots of specialist tools, but sometimes the simple things are better, like in this case bits of paperclip. Horlicks writes, this is looking great, the level of detail is simply marvellous, you have some great helpful tips and will help so many people doing this build themselves. PS, I'm loving the format of your videos and think the light background audio is really great. Thanks Penny, looking forward to issue 3, it can't come quick enough. Well, I've got a little secret for you. I'm actually looking at changing the background music. Obviously I'm doing lots of different videos, and each one at the moment has the same terrific background. It's from a guy called Kevin MacLeod. I think it's absolutely brilliant, but what I want to look into doing is changing the background so that each video is slightly different, so that in theory if you listened but didn't watch the video, you'll know what we're talking about just from the background. A little bit like credits on TV programs. Peninsula Painting Projects writes, looks like a good mag. And lastly, World of Mike Anderson writes, great video, can't wait for issue 3. Okay, thank you everybody.